Our gospel passage today is something that we all can relate to. Something that we all can connect to, something that we can see every day. As we look at this passage today, it is something that was called worry at the time. It's become known as anxiety. And anxiety is something that is an anticipation of something. Anxiety is an anticipation that can be used either for good or for bad. Using that energy for doing your best. Or it can become something that we have come to know as stress. Verse 25 can be read today as, "Therefore I tell you, do not stress about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear." Do not stress. Stress here comes from physics, and it's the idea that it's an amount of burden that an object can bear, depending on the demands made upon it. How much it can bear, the stress, what it can take. And in physics, in engineering, if something takes on too much stress, what happens? It makes me think back to last year to the bridge on I-35 in Minneapolis. They had been designed to take a certain amount of stress, and they knew that the traffic patterns were increasing. More and more vehicles were going over it, and that increased the stress. That increased the workload that it had to do. They'd known for 20 years that they needed to make it so that it could take more of a load. But what happened? The bridge collapsed. And that can happen to us as well if we have too much stress in our lives. If we have too much stress in our lives, we too will be like that bridge. Verse 24, "No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." Now, when we look at this passage and we look at it historically, yes, it was physically possible to have two masters. It was possible for, say, brothers to either inherit or to go together and get a servant, a slave together. But it wasn't very good on the slave's part. It was rather difficult. See, what could happen would be that brother number one could say, "I need you to go to Capernaum, and I need you to go there and wait for Bob. When Bob gets there, bring him back here." And then the other brother could tell him, "I need you to go to Jerusalem. I need you to go to Jerusalem and wait for Fred. When Fred gets there, bring him back here." He cannot be in two places. That's impossible. It's impossible for him to truly be able to follow both masters. He has to pick one. He has to pick one. And for us that happens as well, as we look at this idea, as Jesus says, both God and money. And there's another idea that comes from this, and that's called cognitive dissonance. That is where we know what we need to be doing, following God. We know what He asks us to do. We know that He asks us to give a certain portion or all of what we have to Him, give Him our best. But if we're following money as our master, we want to keep and gather as much as we can. And what cognitive dissonance does is it takes that idea that this stuff is good, and instead of following the master we're supposed to be following, that is to follow God as servants of Jesus Christ, instead we make a cognitive decision and change the whole idea and try to make it so that the rules are different. We try to change those rules so that it's okay for us to keep more and to give less to God. It is okay for us to strive after things rather than for God. The cognitive dissonance makes it so that no longer are you truly following God. You're following something else. You're following something else. And so Jesus tells them, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more important than food, and the body more important than clothes?" The important thing here is that life is not food. Your body is not clothes. Your life is not simply defined by the food that you have, and who you are is not defined by the clothes that you wear. What Jesus is saying is, stop. Don't stress. Don't stress. And that is an advice that you would receive as well about stress. When it comes upon you, you say, stop. It seems simple, and sometimes it works that way, and sometimes it doesn't. It takes a little bit more than just saying stop, but it's a start. But it's a start. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or stow away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? Who, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? We know that too much stress in our lives is going to reduce our life expectancy. We know that there are medical problems that occur from it. And that's one way that stress does not add, it subtracts.